What prediction would you make about the automotive industry in the next 20 years? I'll take the first whack at it, and then we'll hand the mic to everybody and let everybody take a cut at this. Matter of fact, I wrote an article about this about 18 months ago. And if I was going to predict one thing in the automotive industry the next 20 years is we don't know what's going to happen. With the advent of battery electric vehicles, with pollution issues, global warming, and all these issues, it's a huge moving target. And I'll play both extremes here. If you would listen to one side, they would tell you tomorrow morning we need to have every internal combustion engine shut off and never turned on again. That's just not practical. Matter of fact, if you do the math on it, it would take you 50 years to do that. And the other side of the equation is, well, we don't need any of that electric crap. We got all the fuel we need. We just need to figure out how to make them more and more efficient. And even that in itself is about as nonsensical as the prior. So I don't know that we know. I don't know if we know where the industry is going. So what does that mean from a manufacturing perspective? You better be pretty flexible, not just from a manufacturing perspective, but from a business perspective. You better be ready to react to what happens in the market, whatever it may be. So Brian, we'll start with you, give you a whack at that, see what you think.
Well, as a guy who has gasoline running through his veins, I believe that the gas-powered vehicles will have a place. I do believe that electric vehicles will increase. There are some challenges with electric vehicles, and that's infrastructure, price, getting the country ready to, range is an issue. But I do believe that the gasoline vehicles will survive. It's incredible the amount of horsepower we can get out of a car compared to 20, 30 years ago. So I don't believe that'll go away, but I think there will be some increases with the electric segment.
Okay, I'm not a proponent of electric vehicles. I'm like Brian. I like the sound of the engine warming up, and I like it when you let it loose and let it roar. However, given the pollution stuff that we have in some of our cities, etc., I think that probably the electric vehicle has a really good place in a very, very city-type setting. Short distances, a lot of pollution, that kind of thing. The scary thing to balance that on the other side is how are you going to get rid of the lithium-ion batteries and the other batteries, because we really don't have a good way yet of keeping green and disposing those properly. So I think it's going to be a rather interesting 20 years, because I don't think gas is going away, and I think the electric vehicle is going to make its presence more known.
So Don, you want to take it?
I'll take a little bit of a different spin on this. It's, I think we got a generational thing. It's also going to be, what is the customer desire in this? Just because the industry wants to go heavy into battery doesn't mean the customer base is ready to go there. In my career, I've been up and down a few times with, we're going to make V8 engines, we're going to make them go away and only go 4 cylinders, and then lo and behold, we're making V8 engines again heavy, and then we're going to go down to 4 cylinders, and here comes V8 engines again. And that's all driven by the customers. What's the customer want on us? And when I say a generational thing, you're looking at a seasoned team here. We'll talk about all our history. Well, yeah, it's all with gas engines, gas vehicles, propulsion system. That's true. We see that, and that's what we're used to. My family, my kids, they're all in their 30s. I got a collective group of daughters and son-in-laws in their 30s. And they're on the fence. We just had this conversation with them a week or so ago, saying, I can see battery, but I can see gas, because they're questioning, how do I take that family vacation in my Traverse with a battery-operated vehicle to Yellowstone Park? I work from home. I would love an electrical vehicle because I don't drive much. So the generations will help decide this, where we land on some of this based on their desires and what they will buy once it's out in the market, is how I see it.
Well, I think there's a place for the EV vehicles and whatnot. Bill or one of the other team members mentioned the inner cities. I mean, that's pretty practical to have EV type vehicles in these settings. But Brian mentioned, and it's true. I mean, when you look at in the 50s when Eisenhower set up the interstate system, that was a well thought out, planned activity to handle people going from point A to point B across the U.S. Well, I drove from my home state to here for the meeting, and I saw very little charging stations for EV vehicles and whatnot. So in order to make that practical, you've got to have the range, you've got to have the recovery time on the charges on the vehicles, and then you've got to have the opportunity to do it at least, because let's be frank, American culture in driving, especially, is instant gratification, right? So you go and you fill your vehicle up with fuel now, and it takes less than 10 minutes. So until we can get to the point where the EV vehicles are charging at a pace that's somewhat like filling up with a fossil fuel vehicle, then I think we've got a ways to go. So I think the gas engines are going to be around for the next years. I will say, I'm not going to make a prediction on how long, but I think they have their place, but we don't have the infrastructure yet for the EV vehicles. So I think the gas engines will be around for a while longer.
All right, that's good conversation. I think the essence of what you saw there is there's a lot of different opinions on what's going to happen in the automotive industry over the next 20 years. And anybody who claims they know exactly what's going to happen, I would caution you on following their advice and keep an open mind, especially for those of us in manufacturing. We've learned a long time we got to be ready for anything.